Ma'am, I've already told you, this lobby is for registered guests only. The voice was clipped, professional, and sharp enough to slice through the ambient jazz drifting across the grand marble lobby of the Grand Ellison Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. Amara Cole froze mid-step, her designer leather travel bag resting against her heel. She'd flown in on a red-eye that morning, ready to surprise her management team before the quarterly meeting. The Grand Ellison was one of her company's crown jewels, a five-star flagship under Cole Hospitality Group, the empire she built from the ground up. Yet in that moment, standing under the hotel's chandelier, no one recognized her. The front desk supervisor, Clara Vaughn, stood behind the counter with arms folded, eyes filled with polite suspicion. "Ma'am," she said, "you can't loiter around pretending to check in. We've had issues lately." Amara tilted her head slightly, pretending. She asked, calm but cold. Clara sighed. "Look, I'm just doing my job. This area is for guests and VIP arrivals only. You'll need to use the public lobby on the east side." Guests nearby began to notice. A few exchanged glances, one man whispered something to his partner, and they both turned away awkwardly. Amara felt the humiliation crawl up her throat like smoke. This wasn't about a misunderstanding, it was about assumption. Before she could respond, a voice interrupted. Clara said Mr. Todd Ellison, the general manager, as he approached. His polished shoes clicked across the marble floor. "What's going on here?" Clara gestured toward Amara. "She's been standing here for several minutes, sir. I asked for her reservation and she refused to answer. I think she just wandered in." Todd looked Amara up and down, his practiced smile faltering slightly. "Ma'am, if you're lost, I can have security escort you to the other lobby. This area is for VIP guests only." The words hit harder than he realized. Around them, the lobby had gone quiet. Even the front desk clerk had stopped typing. Amara took a slow breath. She'd spent years fighting to be seen in boardrooms dominated by people who underestimated her, but she hadn't expected to face it here, inside her own hotel. She bent down, lifted her travel bag onto the counter, and unzipped the front pocket. Without a word, she withdrew a sleek black ID card embossed in gold. Cole Hospitality Group, Amara Cole, Chief Executive Officer. The silence was electric. Clara's smirk collapsed. Todd's mouth fell open. Even the security guard froze mid-step. Amara's voice was calm, controlled, almost too soft. "This," she said, tapping the card against the marble, "is how you treat my guests when I'm not here." No one moved. The power in her presence filled the space like thunder after lightning. She looked directly at Todd. "Call human resources. Now." He hesitated. "Ms. Cole," I said now. Within minutes, the call went through. Whispered apologies followed, and the same guard who had nearly escorted her out now stood by the door, opening it respectfully as she left. Outside, sunlight spilled across the Manhattan skyline. Amara inhaled slowly, her pulse finally steadying. Justice didn't need shouting, it only needed clarity and authority. Inside, the staff whispered among themselves. A few even clapped quietly once she was gone. Because sometimes, justice doesn't arrive with a warning, it walks in wearing heels, calm and unbothered. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, please subscribe. It helps me keep creating for you. The HR meeting was held the next morning in a glass-walled boardroom on the 40th floor of Cole Hospitality Group headquarters, overlooking Manhattan's skyline. Amara Cole stood by the window, arms folded, eyes fixed on the Empire State Building in the distance. Behind her, Todd Ellison sat rigidly in a chair across the polished oak table, trying to hold his composure. Clara Vaughn sat beside him, hands clenched in her lap, her confidence from the lobby scene completely gone. The HR director, Samantha Price, broke the silence. "Ms. Cole, I reviewed the security footage from yesterday. The incident occurred at approximately 8:17 a.m. Would you like to see it?" Amara turned, her tone sharp but even. "Play it." On the screen, the footage rolled. Amara entering the hotel, Clara intercepting her, the argument, Todd's arrival. The dialogue played out exactly as she remembered, except now, stripped of noise and glamour. It sounded worse. When it ended, the room was silent. Clara's voice cracked. "Ms. Cole, I didn't mean any harm. I just thought." "You thought what?" Amara asked quietly. "That someone like me didn't belong in that lobby." Todd shifted uncomfortably. "Amara, if I may." She cut him off. "You may not." Her gaze hardened. "Do you know how many years I've fought to build this brand? Every location, every detail, every employee trained to make guests feel valued. And yet, under your management, people are profiled in the very place that's supposed to represent equality and class." Todd's jaw tightened. "With respect, That's an unfair characterization. Clara made an error in judgment. An error, Amara repeated. Todd, that error was broadcast in front of VIP guests, business partners, and staff. Do you know how fast a moment like that travels online? I've spent my career proving that our hotels are inclusive and progressive. That moment undid years of that work. Clara's eyes welled up. Ms. Cole, please. I was only trying to follow protocol. Protocol doesn't involve humiliation, Amara said firmly. It involves discernment. The HR director spoke carefully. Ms. Cole, would you like me to proceed with disciplinary action? Amara's silence stretched. She was calm, but inside, her emotions simmered. Anger, disappointment, a hint of sadness. Finally, she said, not yet. I'm not interested in punishment. I'm interested in understanding. Clara looked up, startled. Amara continued, I want to know why this happened. What made you so sure that I didn't belong? Was it how I looked? My clothes? My skin tone? Todd looked down. Clara's lips trembled. It wasn't like that, ma'am. I just assumed. You weren't carrying luggage like most VIPs. I thought you were waiting for someone. Assumed, Amara echoed softly. Assumptions built on patterns, patterns built on bias. That's not just your fault. That's a culture problem. She turned toward the HR director. Samantha, I want a full review of guest interaction policies across all our properties, starting today. Yes, Ms. Cole. As the meeting wrapped up, Todd tried one last attempt to save face. Amara, we've worked together for 8 years. You know my record. Don't let one misunderstanding. She looked at him coldly. Todd, I trusted you to set a standard. Instead, you set an example of everything I built this company to fight against. Her phone buzzed, a text from her legal advisor. Media inquiry from the Herald about yesterday's incident. Do you want a statement? Amara's mind sharpened. It wasn't just about a mistake anymore. It was about public accountability. She picked up her bag and walked toward the door. Both of you will hear from me soon. We're not finished. As she exited, Todd exhaled shakily. Clara buried her face in her hands. Through the glass walls, Amara's reflection merged with a Manhattan skyline. Movie film frames. ACT3 The breaking point. Word count, 1050. That night, Amara sat alone in her penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park. The city shimmered below, the same skyline she'd once dreamed of co-occurring. But now, every light felt distant. On her coffee table lay the morning's tabloid, hotel CEO mistaken for trespasser in her own lobby. A photo of her standing frozen in front of the front desk filled the page. Someone in the lobby must have recorded everything. Her PR director's voice echoed in her memory from an hour earlier. We can spin this if we act fast, Amara. A public statement, a social responsibility initiative. But Amara had ended the call early. She didn't want spin. She wanted truth. She poured herself a glass of water, hands trembling slightly. How many times had she fought this same fight in boardrooms where she was the only woman, the only black executive, the only one questioned before she even spoke? Her phone buzzed again, a call from her mother. Baby, I saw the news. Her mother's warm voice said, calm but worried. You okay? Amara hesitated. I'm fine, Mom. You don't sound fine. It's just exhausting, Amara whispered. You work your whole life to get a seat at the table, and still, someone looks at you like you don't belong. Her mother's silence was heavy with understanding. Then maybe, she said softly, it's time you build your own table, and decide who deserves to sit there. The words settled deep in Amara's chest. As the night deepened, she looked at her reflection in the window, strong, but tired. The city lights glinted against her glass, flickering like doubts. The next morning brought no peace. News stations picked up the story. Hashtags trended. Justice for Amara. Bias in luxury. Cole hospitality. Investors called. Board members wanted reassurance. One even asked if she planned to step back temporarily until the attention faded. That suggestion hit harder than the humiliation itself. Step back, she repeated in the conference call, voice razor sharp. Because I was the victim of bias? No, I'm stepping forward. She ended the call before anyone could respond. Later that afternoon, Todd sent her an email, long, carefully worded, drenched in self-preservation. He apologized for the misunderstanding and asked for a chance to redeem himself. He even mentioned his years of loyalty and deep respect for her leadership. Amara read every line, then closed the email without replying. She opened another window on her computer, an internal HR report. Dozens of staff complaints, small incidents, overlooked patterns of behavior, microaggressions, guests of color being treated differently. It wasn't just Clara, it was systemic. Amara leaned back, realization crashing over her. This wasn't just about a single humiliation, it was a mirror reflecting her company's truth. That evening, she drove to the Grand Ellison Hotel, the scene of it all. The lobby was quiet now, polished and serene, as if nothing had ever happened. She stood near the same front desk where Clara had questioned her. For a moment, the memory replayed, the judgmental stares, the dismissive tone, the humiliation. Her reflection in the marble wall seemed to stare back at her, asking, "What now?" A staff member noticed her and quickly approached. "Good evening, Ms. Cole. Welcome back." His voice was gentle, respectful, almost apologetic. Amara smiled faintly. "Thank you." She walked toward the VIP lounge. A group of guests whispered nearby. She caught fragments of their conversation. "That's her, the CEO, the one they didn't recognize. Can you imagine?" At least she handled it gracefully. Gracefully. The word lingered. Grace, when every part of her wanted fury. She exhaled slowly. The humiliation was still raw, but beneath it burned something steadier, resolve. As she turned to leave, a young front desk trainee approached timidly. "Ms. Cole, I just wanted to say, I saw everything that day, and I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. It made a lot of us think about how we treat people." Amara looked at the girl, probably no older than 22, nervous but sincere. That moment softened her. There was still hope. "Thank you," Amara said quietly. "That means more than you know." She stepped out into the crisp evening air. The city's hum surrounded her, alive, relentless, unforgiving. But inside, something shifted. The breaking point wasn't her downfall, it was her awakening. 2 days later, Amara entered the Cole Hospitality headquarters with a new calm. The storm outside, the press, the gossip, the speculation, didn't matter anymore. Inside, she had work to do. Her executive assistant, Nina, followed her briskly down the corridor. "Ma'am, the board's waiting in the main conference room. They're tense." Amara's lips curved faintly. "Good. Let's not keep them waiting." When she entered, conversation halted. Around the long mahogany table sat 12 board members, all high-ranking investors, attorneys, and executives who had shared her climb, or questioned it. At the head of the table, Todd Ellison stood up, eager to reassert himself. "Amara," he began smoothly, "we appreciate you joining us on such short notice. There's concern about the brand perception fallout from the incident. Some feel it may be best to appoint a temporary public representative until I fade from view." Amara's tone was quiet, but it cut through the room like glass. Todd hesitated. "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you meant," she said. "You want distance from the embarrassment, not accountability for the cause." A few members exchanged uneasy looks. Amara tapped the tablet in front of her. The wall screen came alive with slides, internal HR data, testimonials, patterns of discrimination complaints under Todd's regional management. "These," she said, her voice steady, "are incidents that were never addressed. Guests humiliated, employees ignored. I believed it was isolated. I was wrong." Todd's face paled. "Amara, you're taking things out of context. These were minor." "There's nothing minor about bias," she interrupted, "especially when it hides behind professionalism." She clicked to the next slide, a financial audit. "Also," she continued, "the internal audit reveals unauthorized hospitality expenses tied to your department, $47,000 in unapproved client entertainment over the last quarter." Gasps broke the silence. Todd's jaw tightened. "This is absurd. The receipts say otherwise," Amara said. "Funny how those dinners were billed to our diversity training budget." A ripple of shock spread across the room. Amara leaned forward. "While I was busy defending our reputation, you were busy exploiting our resources. So let me be clear, this isn't just about prejudice anymore, it's about integrity." For a moment, the room seemed to freeze. Then one of the older board members, Mr. Levinson, cleared his throat. "Ms. Cole, what exactly do you propose?" Amara straightened. "A new initiative, company-wide anti-bias retraining, transparent leadership accountability, and a public apology, issued not by PR, but by me personally." Todd scoffed. "That's suicide. You'll admit fault publicly." "I'll admit reality," she replied, "because leadership isn't about avoiding blame. It's about owning the truth, even when it's uncomfortable." The boardroom went silent again. Some looked inspired, others nervous. Amara turned to Todd. "You're relieved of your duties effective immediately. HR will finalize your exit package within the hour." Todd's composure cracked. "You can't do that without board approval." "I can," she said, holding his gaze. "Clause 9.3 of the executive contract grants me full termination authority in cases of ethical misconduct." You signed it. He opened his mouth, then closed it, defeated. Nina stepped forward with the file. Your replacement is already identified, ma'am, she said quietly. Amara nodded, her attention never leaving Todd. There's the door. Security will escort you out. As Todd left the room, the rest of the board sat stunned. For the first time in years, Amara's authority was absolute, not because of her title, but because of her clarity. After the meeting, she stood by the window overlooking the skyline again. Nina approached carefully. That was bold, ma'am. Amara smiled faintly. It wasn't bold. It was necessary. Outside, the city pulsed, a symbol of ambition and imbalance. But for the first time in days, she felt peace. Her phone buzzed, a message from her communications director. Press waiting in the lobby for your statement. Do you want me to delay them? Amara typed her reply slowly. No, let them hear it from me. That afternoon, the lobby that once humiliated her became her stage. Cameras lined up. Reporters murmured. Guests watched from the mezzanine. Amara stepped up to the podium, calm, confident, radiant under the soft lighting. 2 days ago, she began, an incident occurred in this very hotel that revealed a painful truth, one I can't ignore. It showed that even in spaces built on excellence, prejudice can still find a home. But we're not here to bury this story, we're here to learn from it. Her voice carried strength and warmth. At Cole Hospitality, our doors will always remain open, not just to guests, but to growth, empathy, and accountability. We will do better, and I promise you, we'll start today. The crowd was silent, moved. Cameras flashed. The press conference ended, but the story didn't. Within hours, Amara's speech went viral. Clips flooded social media, snippets of her standing tall under the chandeliered lobby lights, her voice steady, her message clear. Leadership is not perfection, she'd said, it's the courage to confront imperfection, starting with ourselves. That line alone had become a quote shared worldwide. By evening, emails poured in from guests, executives, and hotel staff across the country. Some offered apologies, others expressed gratitude, but the most telling ones were from employees, those who finally felt seen. One message, unsigned, stood out. 4 years, I kept quiet about how we were treated because I thought speaking up wouldn't matter, but after seeing you today, I believe it might. Amara read it twice, then closed her laptop. That was the justice she'd been seeking, not revenge, but impact. Still, there was unfinished business. The following morning, she arrived at the Grand Elliston Hotel again. The same front doors, the same marble floors, only this time, every employee stood a little straighter. Conversations hushed as she entered. The HR director, Samantha, met her with a folder in hand. Ms. Cole, final reports from the internal investigation. Would you like to review them privately? Amara shook her head. No, let's do it here. They stepped into the lobby center. A dozen staff members stood nearby, including the new interim manager, Elena Rivera, young, sharp, and composed. Amara looked around at the faces, nervous, expectant, remorseful. This hotel, she began, is supposed to represent everything I built my name on: class, fairness, excellence. But recently, it became a mirror of what happens when we stop seeing people as people. Her gaze found Clara at the back of the crowd. Clara looked down, ashamed. I don't believe in punishment without purpose. Amara continued. So here's what will happen. Everyone in this building, from management to maintenance, will undergo empathy and cultural awareness retraining. And starting today, we launch a new mentorship program, pairing senior staff with entry-level employees from diverse backgrounds. A murmur of surprise rippled through the room. Clara's eyes widened. You're giving us another chance. Amara nodded slowly. A second chance, yes, but not a free one. You'll earn it by changing how you see others. Then she turned to Elena. You'll oversee the transition. I trust you to lead with the values this place was meant to stand for. Elena nodded, humbled. I won't let you down, ma'am. Todd, meanwhile, sat miles away in his penthouse, watching the broadcast on TV. The reporter's voice narrated his downfall. Former General Manager Todd Ellison officially terminated from Cole Hospitality Group, following internal findings of financial misconduct and discriminatory leadership practices. His phone buzzed, missed calls from lawyers, investors, and a message from Amara's office, effective immediately, all access revoked, personal items available for pickup under supervision. 4 years, he'd wielded quiet power, now stripped by the very woman he'd once underestimated. Back at the hotel, applause broke out, soft at first, then growing. Guests joined in. Even Clara, through tears, clapped faintly. Amara's voiceover carried the moment. Justice isn't about humiliation, it's about illumination, showing people who they truly are, and giving them a chance to become better. Afterward, Amara stepped outside into the crisp New York afternoon. Cameras still lingered nearby, flashing, recording. But this time, she didn't hide from them. A reporter called out, "Ms. Cole, do you feel vindicated?" Amara paused. "No," she said simply. "I feel seen, and that's all I ever wanted." As she walked toward her car, Nina caught up, smiling. "That was brilliant, ma'am. The board's already sending congratulations. Even your competitors are praising your leadership." Amara smiled faintly. Funny how truth travels faster than lies. She stopped at the car door and turned back toward the hotel, her reflection shining in the tinted window, strong and centered. For a long moment, she just breathed. This wasn't just her victory, it was every woman, every professional, every person who had ever been underestimated and found the strength to rise without shouting. 3 weeks later, the Grand Elliston Hotel looked and felt different. Guests were greeted with genuine warmth, not rehearsed politeness. The front desk staff smiled with sincerity. The atmosphere had shifted, lighter, human, real, and Amara noticed it the moment she stepped through the doors. The once tense lobby now hummed with quiet confidence. The very space that had humiliated her had become the symbol of her transformation, and the company's rebirth. Elena, the new manager, approached. "Welcome back, Ms. Cole. Training's been going strong. You should see the difference. It's not just policy anymore. People care." Amara smiled, pride softening her features. "That's the goal. Policy fades, culture stays." They walked toward the lounge, where a mentorship session was underway. Senior staff coaching junior employees, exchanging experiences, breaking barriers that had stood for years. One of the mentors was Clara. Her posture was humbler now, her tone measured and kind. She was explaining to a trainee the importance of empathy and hospitality. When she noticed Amara watching, she paused, uncertain. Amara stepped closer. "You're doing well." Clara swallowed. "I'm trying, ma'am. I'll never forget what happened, but I'm learning." Amara nodded. "That's what matters. Growth doesn't erase mistakes, it redeems them." They shared a small, genuine smile, the kind that carries more forgiveness than words ever could. Later that day, Amara stood in her office, the skyline glowing gold through the floor-to-ceiling windows. On her desk sat 2 framed photos, one of her mother, the other of the hotel's opening day ribbon cutting. Her assistant, Nina, entered quietly. "Ma'am, the Herald just published their feature piece on you. It's powerful." Amara raised a brow. "Good or bad powerful?" Nina grinned. "Headline says, 'From humiliation to honor, how one CEO redefined justice in her industry.'" Amara chuckled softly, shaking her head. "They do love their drama." Nina hesitated. "You earned it. Most people would have walked away. You stayed, and changed everything." Amara looked out over the city, thoughtful. Walking away would have been easier, but justice isn't about comfort, it's about courage. She thought of her mother's words that night on the phone, "Build your own table." She had, and now, she was inviting others to sit at it. Outside, the sunset painted the skyline in hues of orange and rose. It wasn't just beautiful, it was symbolic. The end of a storm, the beginning of a legacy. Amara's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Ms. Cole, I was one of the guests in the lobby that day. I saw everything. I just wanted to say, thank you. You didn't just stand up for yourself. You stood up for all of us who've ever been told we don't belong." Amara read it twice, a soft smile forming. She set the phone down and exhaled deeply, a breath of release, peace, and quiet triumph. She turned to Nina. "Let's schedule a staff appreciation dinner next week. Everyone, from housekeeping to management. I want them all there." "Of course, ma'am," Nina said. As the door closed behind her, Amara sat at her desk, looking out once more at the glowing city. Thank you for watching till the end. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. What lesson did this story teach you personally? I'd love to read your thoughts below.